Legacy ika Dr AB Xuma, Viva! Viva! Program Director, MEC Ngcobo, Premier of Eastern Cape Province, Oscar Mabuyan, the Xuma family, ministers and deputy ministers, members of parliament, members of the provincial legislatures, members of councillors of our local government structures, representatives of Amampondo Mise and Abatembu houses, traditional leaders amongst us, the leadership of the African National Congress at national level, provincial level, at regional level and local level, members of the ANC Women's League, the Veterans League, the Youth League, and the leaders of the Alliance, as in COSATU, the South African Communist Party, and SANCO. Religious leaders were amongst us. Babu Mangocha, who's the CEO of the National Heritage Council, the President of NAFCO, Kuba Matungwan, fellow monarchs and compatriots. Ndithetha ndifika ndamkelwe umndeni wakaXuma, and I was a bit surprised and taken aback xa bendibulisa. Omunye uqale ngokungibulisa ngesiXhosa, ndavuma. Omunye wanibulisa kaSisuthu semunati. Omunye wanibulisa ngesivenda esiphelele. That's when I realized ukuthi Dr. AB Xuma was truly a cosmopolitan leader of our movement. And that cosmopolitan attribute has flowed into the family as well. But my joy was actually lifted to another level when one of the family members told me that he was a leader of the National Union of Mine Workers at Vaal Reefs and participated in the Great Miners' Strike in 1987 and led workers at the mine where he was working. And he's a great-grandson of Dr. AB Xuma. So I feel at home, ndisekhaya apha, ndifike ekhaya. It is an honor to join this congregation today. The reinterment of Dr. AB Xuma is an occasion that in many ways is tinged with sadness as we remember the great loss that was his passing on the 27th of January in 1962. But we are also comforted and our hearts are at peace, for we have brought home our father and he is now going to lie amongst the people that he so loved. The Bible says that as Jacob was about to pass away, he said, I'm about to be gathered to my people, so bury me with my fathers. Today, after many years, our father, our friend, our brother, and our leader has at last been brought home to us, his people. He has been brought to his final resting place in this land of his forebears. We have accorded him a special official funeral as a mark of honor, but also a mark of recognition for the contribution that Dr. AB Xuma made to our struggle. But we have also given the honor to the family and to the men and women of Engcobo who gave us such a fine, distinguished and illustrious son. At Heroes Park, a statue has been erected. It stands tall as a tribute and a reminder to the people of the Eastern Cape of the great responsibility you shoulder to carry on his legacy. It has been 58 years since Alfred Bathini Xuma passed away, but the footprint that he left behind was deep and cannot be erased. He was the first black South African to become a medical doctor, a qualification he earned abroad through great sacrifice. When he returned home, he campaigned for the right of all South Africans to receive decent standards of health care. He appealed to the colonial authorities of the time for more doctors and nurses to work in black communities so that they can care for the needs of our people. He believed that neither race nor social circumstance should be a barrier to medical health care, and he rejected the notion of inferior medical health care being dispensed to our people. But he also dismissed the idea that inferior medical education should be offered to black doctors and nurses. It was under the leadership of Dr. Alfred Xuma that the African National Congress adopted the African Claims document at its annual conference on the 16th of December in 1943. This seminal document laid out the African people's demands for full equality and citizenship rights. Most importantly, it prioritized the South African people's right to land ownership. It made an unequivocal demand for a fair redistribution of land, rightly describing the race-based system of land distribution as unjust and contrary to the interests of our country, South Africa. The document rightly declared that the right to own, to buy, to hire or to lease and occupy land individually or collectively, both in the rural and in the urban areas, was a fundamental right of citizenship. It is of great significance that our nation will soon see the realization of some of the social reforms that Dr. AB Xuma championed for most of his life. In terms of health care, in terms of land reform, and many others. For the first time in the history of our country, every South African man, woman, and child will have equal access to health care when the national health insurance becomes a reality. That we have reached this point in the culmination of a journey that was first embarked upon by Dr. Xuma and other pioneers in our liberation struggle is quite a significant achievement. Also this year, the democratic government will be forging ahead with the process of land reform and redistribution, guided by the recommendations of the Presidential Panel on Land Reform and Agriculture. This will culminate in the amendment of Section 25 of our Constitution that will entrench land tenure for all the people of our country. In doing so, we are giving effect to the provisions of the African Claims document, the Freedom Charter, and above all, our Constitution. Dr. Xuma left a profound and lasting impression in the annals of our country. Nowhere was this felt greater than in the African National Congress, the organization that he led from 1940 to 1949 as its seventh and then, at the time, longest-serving president. He inherited an ANC that was beset by challenges during a time of great political upheaval in our country. There was an upsurge in independent social movements, and independent trade unions were on the rise. A wave of housing, transport, and workers' strikes were also all being led independently of the ANC. Under President Xuma's leadership, the ANC was built into a strong and cohesive political force, leading the Congress Alliance into a program of mass action in the 1950s. He understood that the ANC must be built from the grassroots and that its strength and power lay in the branches. He traveled across the country to recruit members, to open up new branches, and to appoint organizers. He mobilized previously neglected constituencies such as workers, chiefs, communists, the youth, and women. In 1943, equal membership, as we heard, membership rights were extended to women for the very first time in the ANC. And in this regard, we pay tribute to his second wife, Madihol Xuma, who led the ANC Women's League from 1943 to 1949. She organized and mobilized women, raised funds, and established the League as a vibrant, program-oriented and based organization. We also pay tribute to Dr. Xuma's first wife, Amanda Mason, who unfortunately died very early in their matrimonial life in 1934. They are both mothers of our nation, and we remember and honor them. It was during Dr. Xuma's presidency that the ANC Youth League was formed. He held political discussions with Nelson Mandela, Oliver Reginald Tambo, Walter Sisulu, Anton Lembede, and other youth leaders of his time, and encouraged the formation of the youth organization to take forward the aims of the liberation struggle. At the ANC Youth League inaugural meeting in 1944, he said of the young leaders, "I know they are launching their movement in the interest of the national movement. I know they are not self-seekers, but patriots out to strengthen the mother body, the African National Congress." And indeed, the ANC Youth League revitalized the mother body and has a duty to continue doing so. Dr. Xuma emphasized that the liberation movement was a broad church and that accommodation of ideological difference was critical to its unity. He stood firmly against racial and ethnic chauvinism. It was during his tenure that in March 1947, the ANC and the Indian Congresses of the Transvaal and Natal signed what became known as the Doctors' Pact, setting the basis for more meaningful cooperation amongst all oppressed South Africans. Dr. Xuma took the ANC from a position of relative weakness to become a formidable political force that the ANC then became and the ANC is today. He set it on a trajectory that ultimately led to the freedom of our country. We draw many lessons from his life. He will be remembered for having instilled in the ANC a culture of robust intellectual engagement. He believed a healthy exchange of ideas was necessary and that ideological differences should never hold an organization to ransom. Those differences should never tear it apart or undermine its coherence, leadership, and authority. Dr. Xuma was also a great champion of financial inclusion for women and believed they must be economically empowered and included in the economy. He was moved by the plight of African women who had to sell home-brewed beer to survive and support their families. In 1931, he testified at the Native Economic Commission and the Liquor Commission, where he said that instead of stigmatizing the women for what was then illegal activity, it was an illegal system that left women vulnerable to poverty that was really to blame for all the suffering that the women were going through. Today is International Women's Day, and we once again affirm our commitment as government to making women full and equal participants in our economy. We will forge ahead with implementing policies and programs that give effect to this, whether it is in reforming public procurement laws to ensure more beneficiaries are women, in ensuring that the rights of women are protected when it comes to ownership of land, or being firm in our resolve to stamp out gender-based violence. As we were chosen as chair of the African Union at the AU Summit a few weeks ago, as South Africa, we decided to focus on a number of important issues in terms of what we will be advocating as chair of the African Union. And one of those is the empowerment of women, and one is ridding our continent of the scourge of gender-based violence. We've committed ourselves also as a government to address this scourge and have embarked on a number of programs and initiatives that are aimed at achieving precisely this. We know that here in Engcobo, women face many challenges and that their life is very hard. We know that empowering a woman is empowering a family. It is also empowering a community and ultimately a nation. That is why we will continue to work hard to ensure that the problems that are facing the women of Engcobo like access to water, access to proper housing, to land and to health care are addressed. But we will also seek to address some of the challenges that Premier Mabuyane spoke about. The issue of improving the infrastructure in our rural areas, particularly roads. I was also saddened when we heard the report of the accident, the bus accident, that resulted in the death of 25 people and injured so many others. It talks to infrastructure development that we need to focus on to make sure that we can deliver a better life to the people of our country. We have inaugurated the new district development model through which we want to change the way we deliver services to our people and ensure that jobs and economic opportunities don't just go to those who live in the cities and in the metros of our country. We are looking at ways to breathe new life into the rural economies of our country and how the resources of places like Engcobo and indeed many other rural places across the length and the breadth of our country can be used to support new industries, new businesses, cooperatives that are led by women, and new initiatives that can ensure that the young people of this area are also made participants in the economy of our country. As part of the land reform process, we are going to ensure that women do have access to land and are able to become owners of land, and that we as government give them our full support to work the land. We will move in this sixth administration to embark on infrastructure projects that will deliver water, that will also construct bridges, so that when our children go to school, they do not have to cross overflowing rivers and sometimes stay away from schools. We will make sure that our learners also get the transport that will get them to school on time so that they can learn properly. There is much that we need to do, and as we announced in our State of the Nation address, in the sixth administration, much as our economy is going through a challenging time, as government, we will deploy resources, particularly for infrastructure build, that will improve the infrastructure layout of rural areas in our country. Here in the Eastern Cape, kudala sithetha ngedam elikhulu uMzimvubu. We've been talking about it for many, many years. We have now resolved that sizalakha elidam. Minister Sisulu, working together with other colleagues, we are going to go through a process of building this dam on a modular basis. Safumana ukuthi eli dam lizawufuna imali eninzi. Sathi ke masilakhe in stages. And it is possible to build a dam in stages, and the work has started to lay the ground so that we can start building this dam in stages. We want to deliver this dam, and as I said during SONA, I will be visiting the area myself. Ndiyozibonela ngokwami ukuthi eli damu lizawuba phi na. Fellow mourners, Dr. Alfred Xuma was an exemplary leader in times of both difficulty and stability. His stewardship of the ANC, and before that, of the All-African Convention, was defined by revolutionary discipline, ethics, and commitment to the greater good, the liberation of South Africa. His tenure was free of scandal and suggestions of impropriety. We should follow in his footsteps in the positions that we have been entrusted with in national government, in our provinces, and in our municipalities. He took his role very seriously and discharged his role as President of the African National Congress faithfully. He was a president who forged consensus and unity. He understood then, as we do today, that if we fall prey to division, to dissent and discord, we will never achieve our aims. He would have taken a dim view of leaders within our ranks who sow division, who want to divide our movement. He was a unifier, and we should follow in his footsteps to be unifiers, to unite the African National Congress, to make it strong so that it can get stronger and be able to achieve the dreams and the aspirations of our people. As a country, we are faced with many challenges, but we will overcome them if we are united and work together as a people. In 1964, the poet W.H. Auden wrote, "When a just man dies, lamentation and praise, sorrow and joy are one. What he was, what he is fated to become depends on us. Remembering his death, how we choose to live will decide its meaning." Close quotes. As inheritors of the great legacy of Dr. AB Xuma, we must indeed choose how we wish to live. We can surrender to pessimism, or we can come together and surrender to defeat. Or better still, we can resolve that we want to come together to transform the fortunes of our great nation. We remember him, and we will continue to live out the values for which he stood. They are the values contained in our Constitution. They are the values of compassion, of empathy, and of helping others. He lived up to the motto of his school, Clarkberry Institution, here in the Eastern Cape, which is, "Lift as you rise." As he finds his final resting place, on behalf of the government and the people of South Africa, I offer our condolences to his family, but want to encourage them to also have great memories of his contribution that he made to the freedom of our people. But we also want to thank the family for having loaned him to us, loaned this great man to the nation, this great man, the son of the soil. I also want to thank the government of the Eastern Cape, particularly the Premier, for honoring the requests of the Xuma family for their father to be reburied here where he was born. Your actions are a practical demonstration of the need to keep our history alive so that it is imparted to the younger generation. Dr. Alfred Bathini Xuma played his part, and in his memory, let us all do the same. As we sit here, as we remember him, we are all endeared and called upon to do our part as he did his part. We bid him farewell together with his wife. He was a good and faithful servant of the people of South Africa. Rest in eternal peace, my President. You will forever be remembered and you will never be forgotten. I thank you.